bank reconciliation procedure. I'm going to use the illustrative example on page 218 of your text. The first thing to note is that you have a bank statement. First of all, let me just quickly explain what a bank statement looks like. You have the date, the balance, the details. Credit here is the opening bank balance. A credit item on the bank statement means that the bank owes it to you, therefore it's money in your bank. So when we put money in, it goes on the credit side. When we take money out, when their checks payments are made, they're on the debit side. As part of our procedure, what we need to do is to make sure that the bank records are the same as the records in our cash receipts and cash payments journal here. Now what I've done for the purposes of the exercise is also to represent these in a spreadsheet, so you can see the bank statement, the previous bank reconciliation statement, which I'll talk about in a moment, the cash journals. I'm using Excel to complete the exercise, which means that I can show you a blow-by-blow description. Let's start. So in step 1 of a procedure, we have to make sure that all the items are the same on our cash receipts journal as well as our bank statement. But even before we look at that, we've got to look at the previous bank reconciliation statement from the last month to see whether there's any carryover, either deposits that go on the credit side or any checks that haven't yet been presented. Let's have a look at that. So let's go back to our initial bank reconciliation statement as per the 30th of June. Here you can see that from the 30th of June, remember that we are doing the bank reconciliation statement for July, that previously there was a deposit not yet credited. You can see that that got credited to the bank account on the 2nd, so it took about a couple of days. So we've got to put a tick there and a tick there. Similarly, we look at for any unpresented checks, and I can see that check 486 here was unpresented last month, got presented here this month. I'm looking on the bank statement to see whether 472 for $56 is indeed presented, and look, it hasn't been. So that means that check 472 for $56 is going to be unpresented yet again for the month of July. Now let's have a look at our cash payments journal. Whenever there's the same amount, I'm going to tick off on the bank statement and the cash receipts in the cash payments journal to make sure that they're the same. Let's start. So the first item here is the amount for $608 from a cash receipts journal. Is that in our bank statement? Let's have a look. Yes, it is. Tick there and a tick there. The next item is 92. Is $92 there? Yes, it is. A tick there and a tick here. The next item is an amount for $1,026.16. That's there as well, so 2 ticks there. So what I've got is tick there, there and there. And there's this item here for A. Wilson that's been banked on the 30th of July. It won't get presented probably to him to the 2nd of August. Therefore, that is outstanding. So that's a deposit not yet credited that we'll have to remember later. Now let's go to the cash payment side. Let's see where the wages 489 for 210 got paid. I'm going back. There it is. It got paid. So a tick there and a tick there. Let's look at the next check. No, that's not there. $110, $490 got presented there, so we can check those against each other. $492 got presented. There it is there. Another wages check for $210. And just checking, the $491, $493 and $494, they all didn't get presented. So that means that they're outstanding, unpresented. So we can put an OS next to that, OS next to that, OS next to that. Okay, so what we've done, we've seen whether what items are on the bank statement and what items are on our journals unpresented. So we've got to account for that later. Let's go back to our bank statement, and we'll note there's a couple of things that we haven't got ticked off. Noticeably, on the 21st, we got some interest from government bonds for $216. Now this amount needs to be put on our bank statement. So let's go and do that. I'm going to use the spreadsheet in order to do that. So on the 21st here, I've got to put that extra amount in. 21st, I'm going to type in here government bonds, It was for $216, and that's the amount that must be added on to the cash receipts column as well. Now let's go back to the bank statement and see whether there's any items here on the debit side which haven't yet been included on our cash payments journal. And I noticed a couple of things. One is the bank fees here, $3, and another here is a dishonoured check. So T. Watson, we can see here a check was paid to us, but it was dishonoured for payment that we received. So those two items must now appear on the cash journals side of things down here. Let's include those. So on the bottom of a cash payments journal, I'm going to type T. Watson dishonoured check. Got to put down the details, and also need to spell it properly. The amount was for $94.22, and also must appear in this column here, otherwise it won't add up properly. And we also had some bank fees, that's fairly common, for $3. Okay. Now again, to reiterate, we have to make sure that all the items here on the bank statement are ticked, and I've made sure that they are. The last two items I've put in here on the cash payments journal. Now we have to total these items up. So I've just put in the totals here, so the total receipts is that, and the total cash payments for the month is that. Now that we've calculated our totals for both the cash receipts journal and cash payments journal, we want to go to the next step in the bank reconciliation statement by working out a cash at bank account. Note here that I've got 297269. Now where did I get that from? Well, I got that from the previous bank reconciliation statement that I showed you earlier. There it is there. So it says debit balance as per cash at bank account. So you plug that into that amount there. Your cash receipts comes from your cash receipts journal. So let's just put that in quickly. We worked that out before. There it is there. And our cash payments, every time we make a payment, obviously is going to be on the credit side. Therefore the total cash payments from our check account have got to be on the credit side. So I've put that in, and now I'm ready to calculate my final balance. So there you are. What I've done is calculated the balance, and I'm hoping that my bank reconciliation statement will come up with 324148. So let me just highlight that a bit. So that's the amount that's got to beg your pardon, wrong one. That's the one that's got to be agreeable with what we come up in the bank reconciliation statement. Here it is. So how do I do that? The first thing I've got to do is to find the credit balance as per my bank statement. So I go back to my bank statement, and here it is there. That's the 1st of July, but I've got to find the balance at the end, because what we're trying to do, we're trying to reconcile this amount to our bank account, because as you already know, it's different, and it's different because of the unpresented items. So it's 434403. So let's put that in now. Okay, so that's the credit balance as per bank statement as I've just shown you. Now I have to look at deposits not yet credited. I get this information from my cash journal. So if I click back there, as you would have noted before, A. Wilson here was an outstanding or an unpresented item, so that $790 must appear in my bank reconciliation. I'm going to type that in. And the other part I must now do is to find my unpresented checks. Now I'm going to find those in two places, one from the previous bank reconciliation statement as well as looking at my cash journal. Let me first look at the previous bank reconciliation statement. Here it is here. If you remember, check 472 for $56 was still unpresented. So let's put that in. So we type in here, check 472, $56. That's our first check. Now I'm going to turn to my other unpresented checks, which I will find for my cash payments journal. If you remember, it was 491, 493 and 494. Now those three checks there I'm going to put into my bank reconciliation, and as you can see down here, I've already prepared for it. I'm just going to cut and shut these. There they are there. The total of unpresented checks is 1892. That gets taken away from this figure up here, which end up with 324138. Now that's the balance. Now I'm hoping that's the same as my cash at bank account. Let's go and check that. There it is there. Cool. So what that means, I've reconciled my cash at bank account, which is my records, to the bank records. Remember that they are different because the bank statement told us that there was 4344 in it, but because we've got unpresented items both on the credit side, which are coming into us, and both on the other side where items that we've paid haven't been presented yet by the people that we paid it to, makes the difference. And if we wouldn't have done that, we would have got a false idea in terms of our amount of money that we got in the bank, and that's one of the main reasons why we have to check to make sure that our records are the same as the bank records. Hopefully that's been useful to you. As I illustrated to you earlier, this is an example that's in your textbook that I've just worked through for your benefit.